Beitbridge border post start in Musina. The high-density festive season crime prevention operation is aimed at curbing cross-border crimes between South Africa and Zimbabwe. The Transport Ministry says the operations will also assist in reducing the number of fatalities on the roads. And our reporter Mike Maringa is at the border post.
We are at the Beitbridge border post at the entrance. This is where we were the other time when we had a problem with police, but I can confirm that today is a different day altogether. There are a lot of people who are going into the port of entry, and also we have seen a number of people who are going out, as we have reported earlier on, and as you have seen at the Beitbridge, that there are a lot of vehicles that are going into South Africa, and equally we've got a lot of cars that are going through to Zimbabwe. We've got a lot of trucks that are piling so that they can enter the port of entry. And you must also remember that this is not the only port of entry in South Africa. This might be the second biggest after OR Tambo. But to tell us more about what's happening at the port of entry, I now bring Mr. Stephen Van Niel to tell us as to how is the situation in other areas. Mr. Niel, welcome to SABC. What is the situation in other ports of entry?
Well, I can confirm that until now we are still running a very smooth operations. We had very good plans that we implemented for this festive season, and with a particular focus in the main or key ports that we normally deploy additional staff, like for instance at Beitbridge, at Lebombo, as well as at Maseru and Vicksburg, but also at Kofontein and OR Tambo. These are our key ports that we normally had to bring in additional staff and create extra capacity in our ports that obviously allows for more workstations where people can be processed.
Let's talk about numbers. Usually I'm told that you see about 18,000 people who pass through here. How is the situation now, and also at OR Tambo and other port of entries?
Well, I can confirm that OR Tambo obviously is our busiest port of entry in South Africa, which are normally serving in between 21 to 22,000 on normal days. But during the festive seasons, we normally see that increase to over 30,000, and that is what we had one day during the past week. In Beitbridge, our second busiest or largest port into the country, and obviously with the number of countries in the sub-Saharan region that are served at this port of entry, we normally serve around 11 to 14,000 on a normal day. But during festive season, and it shouldn't be a surprise, with the increase of traveler movements, we see that move up to over the 20,000. I can report that in the last week, one day on the 19th, we had more people processed here than in OR Tambo, and that is quite a surprise. In Lebombo, obviously it's in the between of 10 and 15,000 as one port that goes into Mozambique. Mozambique is a port into Swaziland that we normally just deal with about 10,000. But another two ports, I think, which is of importance, is our two ports that are going into Lesotho. Both Vicksburg and Maseru respectively deal with a number of travelers close to 10,000. And if you look at the numbers combined, you really get to an amount that is, or a figure that is very close to what is happening here at Beitbridge.
Usually when we come here, there are backlogs of people who are queuing to get their papers processed. I also saw queues here the day. Do you have plans in place to ensure that we don't have backlogs or people queuing for a very long time?
What we always ask travelers coming into our ports of entry is, the first thing is to ensure that they comply with the required immigration requirements. And that will obviously prevent people being delayed in the port of entry. But what we do is that, especially during this period, is with the additional staff, create work areas that people do not have to stand in too long queues. But I think more importantly is that those people who are not complying, that the secondary checks are done quicker, and that people don't necessarily have to stand in queues for too long.
Mr. Van Niel, before I let you go, looking at the numbers of people who are crossing the ports, do you have everything in place to ensure that there's a smooth operation in this festive season?
Yes, well, it's this time of the year, and festive season, I think nobody should be surprised that there will obviously be a number of people that coming through our ports, more so than any other time, because people are going back to their respective countries. We are surrounded by 6 neighboring countries, and a number of people of our neighbors are staying in South Africa for a number of reasons. So it's for that reason that we are aware that the situations at our ports will increase. But I think more importantly, and Beitbridge in particular, we know that the situation in Zimbabwe has changed, and obviously we are expecting that more people might be traveling back just to go and see what is happening in Zimbabwe in order to make a decision whether to come back permanently or go back permanently to Zimbabwe.
Mr. Stephen Van Niel explaining what they have or the plans that they have in place to ensure that there are smooth operations in all the ports of entries in the country, including Lubombo, Beitbridge and OR Tambo. And for now, it's back to you in the studio.
Law enforcement